Hello and good day, my name is Austin Kooken, aka Captain Fanatic. If this is your first time stopping by my channel and you haven't checked out any of my other videos, I'm going to go ahead and not post a link above because this is my very first one. And you may very well be my first viewer, so in advance, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate your time, so much in fact, we're going to go ahead and stop wasting it and we're going to get into our first video. Alright, well, so hopefully you made it past the title intro there. If you didn't, then here I am now by myself talking to myself. If you did make it, however, I invite you to leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. First video, what's it all about? People say use it to introduce yourself, but I have a feeling you're going to learn about me over time anyways. What my likes are, my dislikes, who's my favorite actor, who's my favorite character in the Marvel universe. So what's important now is that I pitch the content that I'm going to be creating. Without the content, a channel is just a channel. You come here to get some knowledge, to feed the brain, feed the heart. There's so many reasons why you come, but an empty channel, an empty promise is not one of them, I guarantee you that. Before I even started thinking about doing the filming of this for YouTube, one of my biggest projects was to do some research, find a niche. What can I do? What can I add to something that exists already to make it better? Or just maybe enrich it a little bit, make it my own. So after doing a lot of that research, I found that within the collection genre of videos on YouTube, that a lot of the collectors make videos that showcase their collection. Nothing wrong with that. Collecting takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money in some cases, and then it takes a lot of effort to keep the collection in great shape. It's a continued effort, and it's never ending. So what I wanted to do is add to it. Here's my collection, but this is what information I've pulled up and researched about this collection. Whether it is when I was, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, if it was something I just discovered recently about that collection. I mean, this is the information I want to give to you. I want to make this different. And again, nothing wrong with what they've been doing. I just think there could be more. And so this is my way of bringing that to the table. So I'd say one of the biggest hurdles that you kind of have to get over when you're trying to share your collection with everyone is where to begin. So I've been thinking for quite a while, and I think I've pretty much figured out the best place to start. So I'm going to take you back to 1990. Now in 1990, there were so many things going on in the world. After being in prison for 27 years, Nelson Mandela was released from prison over in South Africa. You had Mariah Carey come out with her self-titled album, and Living Color premiered on Fox, which is really cool. Danny Elfman won the Grammy Award for Best Instrumental Composition for his Batman theme from the Batman motion picture. Can't believe it's been that long. It's kind of aged me quite a bit now. Hubble telescope was launched into space. And then the first set of cranes were put up to start tearing down the Berlin Wall. Very, very important time in history. So that brings me to another important event in 1990. And that is the release of the 1990 Impel Marvel Trading Card set. Now this series of cards would set the standard for comic trading cards going forward even through today. I mean, the last 2020 Marvel Masterpiece set came out, and that was still modeled after these 1990 cards. The set itself included 167 base cards, and then you had 5 hologram insert cards. Front of the cards had a very vibrant, very beautiful illustration of the hero, the villain, the team of mutants that were featured on the card. And then if you turn the card over on the back side, you had a treasure trove of information. It was a very, very cool set, and this would, again, set the standard for trading cards as we saw it. All right, we're starting with card number 1 in the set, Captain America. Now, Captain America first appeared in Captain America Comics number 1 in what I believe was March 1941, which is insane because I think my grandfather was like 5 or 6 at the time. He was created by cartoonists Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, and was released by Timely Comics, a predecessor of Marvel, and was kind of designed as that patriotic super soldier of sorts who often fought the Axis of Powers of World War II, and was Timely Comics' most popular character during the wartime period, which of course makes sense. The popularity of superheroes waned following the war, and so the Captain America comic book was discontinued in 1950. Had like a I guess, a short-lived revival in 1953, and then revived ultimately again in 1964, where he has remained in publication since. And so if you look at the front of the card, you'll notice he's illustrated wearing his costume that bears the American flag motif. And then he has the pretty much nearly indestructible shield that he throws as a projectile. And bring your attention to the back of the card, and I'll go ahead and read this for you. Real name is Steve Rogers. Group affiliation, the Avengers. He's got a height of 6 feet 2 inches, weighing in at 240 pounds, all muscle, of course. You have battles fought, 2,433. He has 1,889 wins, 347 losses, and 197 ties, which gives him a win percentage of 78%. His nicknames are Star Spangled Avenger, Living Legend of World War II, and Cap. Arch enemies Red Skull and Baron Zemo. And then of course it has a little origin story on there. It says, quote, during the most desperate hours of World War II, a fragile young man named Steve Rogers volunteered for a dangerous experiment, ingesting the top secret super soldier serum. Dang, that's hard to say. He became Captain America, the living symbol of freedom. His body now physically perfect, his fighting skills now without equal, Cap joined the war against the Nazis and contributed greatly to the Allied powers' eventual victory. Today, he continues that tradition as he fights to defend America against all those forces that would threaten her. And at the bottom of the card, it has a caption, and it reads, "Did you know? Captain America was frozen in a block of ice in the Arctic for over a decade before the superhero team known as the Avengers rescued him." Moving on to card number 2 of the set, Spider-Man. Spider-Man first appeared in the anthology comic book Amazing Fantasy, issue number 15, in August of 1962. He was created by writer-editor Stan Lee and writer-artist Steve Ditko. In the story, Spider-Man is the alias of Peter Parker. He's an orphan raised by his Aunt May and Uncle Ben in New York City after his parents died in a plane crash. Lee and Ditko had the character deal with the struggles of adolescence and financial issues, and accompanied him with many supporting characters such as J. Jonah Jameson, Harry Osborn, Max Modell, and romantic interests Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane Watson. As we look on the illustration on the front of the card, you'll notice a couple things. First off, you have Spider-Man on a wall doing what Spider-Man does. And secondly is his uniform. Let's look a little different. Normally it's, that blue and red, and that's going to bring us over to the back side of the card. Let me go ahead and read this for you. Obviously, Spider-Man's real name is Peter Parker. His height is 5 feet 10 inches, weighing in at 165 pounds. The number of battles he's fought in this black costume, 982. That's with 620 wins, 328 losses, and 34 ties, giving him a win percentage of 63%. His arch enemies are Dr. Octopus, Hobgoblin, Kingpin, and Venom. First appearance in his black costume was in Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 252, in May of 1984. So as we move down to the origins of the black costume, it says, quote, while he fought in the secret wars on another planet, Spider-Man's original costume was destroyed. An alien machine made his new black costume to replace it. Although it possessed built-in web shooters and allowed him to change his clothes with but a thought, Spidey was forced to abandon it when he discovered that it was actually an alien symbiote that wanted to take over his body. Since then, he occasionally wears an identical costume that he made from cloth. And we go down one more section to the caption. It says, did you know? Spider-Man's alien black costume is now worn by his arch enemy, Venom. Alright, moving on to the third card of the set, we have the Hulk. The Hulk first appeared in The Incredible Hulk, issue number 1, cover dated May 1962. It was written by writer-director Stan Lee, penciled and co-plotted by Jack Kirby, and inked by Paul Reinman. In his comic book appearances, the character is both the Hulk, a green-skinned, hulking, and muscular humanoid possessing a vast degree of physical strength, and then his alter ego, Dr. Robert Bruce Banner, a physically weak, socially withdrawn, and emotionally reserved physicist. Following his accidental exposure to gamma rays, saving the life of teenager Rick Jones during the detonation of an experimental bomb, Banner is physically transformed into the Hulk when subjected to emotional stress, at or against his will, often leading to destructive rampages and conflicts that complicate Banner's civilian life. The Hulk's level of strength is normally conveyed as proportionate to his level of anger, Commonly portrayed as a raging savage, the Hulk has been represented with other personalities based on Banner's fractured psyche, from a mindless destructive force to a brilliant warrior or genius scientist in his own right. So circling back to the front of the card, the illustration shows his destructive force. That's what we call the Hulk hulking out. And as the backside of the card circles around, I'm going to go ahead and read it off to you. The real name for the Hulk is Robert Bruce Banner. He's 7 feet tall, weighs 1,040 pounds, battles fought total 684, is with 409 wins, 213 losses, and 62 ties, giving him a win percentage of 60%. His arch enemies are General Thunderbolt Ross, the Leader, and Abomination. He's got some nicknames: Jade Jaws, Green Goliath, the Hulkster, or Greenskin. And we move down to the origin story. While working at a nuclear research facility, scientist Bruce Banner was accidentally caught in a gamma bomb explosion. The blast transformed him into the monstrous, rampaging Hulk, a creature with childlike intelligence and superhuman strength. He can lift over 100 tons when enraged, which he often directs against those who would threaten him or other innocent beings. Ever since, when enraged, Banner turns into the Hulk and stays that way until the raging giant calms down and reverts back to his normal human form. Following that, we have the caption at the bottom. Did you know the Hulk can easily jump over 3 miles in one leap? All right, well, welcome back to the land of the living, or as I like to call it, the real. I'm just kidding. That's for all my Matrix fans out there. What I want to start doing is throwing this kind of in the middle of the content. And I think what it's going to do is going to go ahead and give your eyes a rest, give your ears a rest, give my mouth a rest. Not really, but I hope it can. And I'm going to go ahead and point at the B-roll intermission. So the content that's going to be in this section may not even have anything to do with the content I'm creating for this specific video. But it just kind of gives us time to have some fun, sit back, relax a little bit, and kind of go from there. So I'm sure the first thing you've noticed here coming back from the B-roll is I'm dressed differently. It's daytime now. The back looks a little different. I went ahead and bought some 3D wall panels and used my existing RGB lights to kind of make this glow effect, and the different angles, cuts with the light are really, really cool. And then I went ahead and bought this thing. That's so hard. And that's the LifeX beam, and it's pretty cool. It adds a little effect. I'm going to go and hand this off back to past Austin. So this is future Austin signing off. Card number 4 is Daredevil. Daredevil first appeared in issue number 1 of Daredevil in April of 1964. It's published by Marvel Comics. He was created by writer-editor Stan Lee and artist Bill Everett. While growing up in a historically crime-ridden working-class Irish-American neighborhood of Hell's Kitchen in New York City, Matt Murdock is blinded by a radioactive substance that falls from an out-of-control truck after he pushes a man out of its path. While he can no longer see, his exposure to this radioactive material heightens his remaining senses beyond normal human ability and gives him a quote-unquote radar sense. His father, a boxer named Jack Murdock, is a single man raising his now blind child, who despite his rough upbringing, unconditionally loves his son and tries to teach him to form a better life for himself. Jack is later killed by gangsters after refusing to throw a fight, leaving Matt an orphan. In order to protect himself, Matt began to hone his physical abilities and superhuman senses under the tutelage of a mysterious blind stranger named Stick, eventually becoming a highly skilled and expert martial artist. As we take a look at the illustration on the front of the card, you'll notice that he's standing atop a building in Hell's Kitchen in his red costume. The original costume design was a combination of black, yellow, and red, reminiscent of acrobat tights. So as we get around to the back of the card, I'm going to go ahead and start reading this off. Daredevil's real name is Matt Murdock. His height is 6 feet, weighing in at exactly 200 pounds. Battles fought 495. That's 253 wins, 177 losses, and 65 ties, giving him a win percentage of 51%. His arch enemies are Kingpin and Bullseye, and his nicknames are Hornhead and DD. And then from there we move down to his origin story. And it says, quote, as a result of an accident that involved a radioactive isotope when he was a teenager, Daredevil lost his sight, but all his other senses were enhanced to incredible superhuman levels. He also gained his amazing radar sense, which in most ways more than makes up for his blindness. With his superior athletic ability, Daredevil takes risks that most people who can see what they're doing wouldn't even dare take. And below that, we move down to the caption. Did you know? Daredevil doesn't need a lie detector to tell if someone is lying. He can just tune in his hearing to the person's heartbeat to listen for sudden jumps in its rate. So that brings us to card number 5, card numero 5, Nick Fury. Colonel Nicholas Joseph Fury Sr. first appeared in Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, issue number 1 in May of 1963. It's a World War II combat series that portrayed the cigar-chomping man as a leader of an elite U.S. Army unit. He was created by writer-artist Jack Kirby and writer Stan Lee. The modern-day character, initially a CIA agent, debuted a few months later in Fantastic Four, issue number 21, in December of 1963. And then again in Strange Tales, number 135, in August of 1965, is where the character was transformed into a spy like James Bond and leading agent of the fictional espionage agency, S.H.I.E.L.D. And so the illustration on the front of the card features Nick Fury with his foot up on the wheel of his S.H.I.E.L.D. vehicle, where he's holding his pistol, and for some reason you have Colonel Fury looking like Captain Morgan. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading as the back comes around. Nick Fury's group affiliation is S.H.I.E.L.D. His height is 6 feet, coming in at 225 pounds. Battles fought 843, with 679 wins, 132 losses, and 32 ties, giving him a win percentage of 81%. His archenemies are Madam Hydra, Baron Strucker, and Yellow Claw. And now we move down to the origin story. And it says, quote, having established a reputation as a brave and fearless soldier during World War II, Nick Fury was chosen to head S.H.I.E.L.D., the Strategic Hazard Intervention Espionage Logistics Directorate, and its mission to detect and destroy covert threats to the democratic way of life. With his vast combat experience, technical know-how, and fighting prowess, this tough-talking, hard-hitting super spy is more than a match for just about any opponent he faces. And then we move down to the caption. Did you know? Nick Fury regularly ingests the top-secret Infinity Formula to maintain his youth and vigor. And now we move on to card number 6 of the set. The Thing. The Thing first appeared in the Fantastic Four, issue number 1, in November of 1961. He was created by writer-editor Stan Lee and artist Jack Kirby. The character is known for his trademark Rocky appearance, sense of humor, and famous battle cry, quote, "It's clobbering time," unquote. The Thing, born Benjamin Jacob Ben Grimm, was born on Yancey Street in New York City's Lower East Side, and had an early life of poverty and hardship, shaping him into a tough, streetwise scrapper. The illustration on the front of the card shows the Thing eating a sandwich and carrying an absurd amount of weight. When Grimm is transformed into the Thing, he's transformed into a thick, lumpy orange hide, which gradually evolves into a now familiar craggy covering of large rocky plates, as featured on the front of the card. Now we turn our attention to the back of the card. It reads, his real name is Ben Grimm, group affiliation Fantastic Four, height 6 feet, weighing in at 500 pounds. Battles fought 511, at 366 wins, 104 losses, and 41 ties, which gives him a win percentage of 72%. His archenemies are Dr. Doom, Galactus, Mole Man, Annihilus, Super Skrull, Blastar. Let's just say he doesn't have a lot of friends. His nicknames are Rocky, Benji, Aunt Petunia's favorite nephew. And now we move down to the origin, which says, quote, exposure to cosmic rays on a space mission turned the normal-looking Ben Grimm into the monstrous Thing. Although he hasn't been too happy whenever he's looked in the mirror since then, he now has superhuman strength. He can lift over 85 tons and is virtually invulnerable, which just goes to prove that beauty isn't everything. And then from there we move down to the caption, and it says, did you know? The Thing's most persistent and annoying foes are the Yancey Street Gang, a group of street toughs who've been tormenting the big guy for years by pulling the most outrageous practical jokes on him. Hello, Future Austin here again. I actually just realized that you're probably thinking I'm going to go over 167 cards at least in this video. And I just want to let you know it's not that long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the first 6 cards of the set, And then I'm going to go into individual cards from a couple other series of cards within the sets. And then I'm going to do a couple unique cards of the set. And then we're kind of done with the video from there. So I'm going to hand this back to past Austin, and we'll see you soon. All right, from here we're moving on into the supervillains. Now, there are quite a few in this series. I think it's really important to bring them up because, of course, our protagonists wouldn't be protagonists without the antagonists. So that's why I'm kind of showcasing these cards. These are very cool. The illustrations are great. And like the protagonists or the superheroes, there's a lot of information on these cards. And now we move into our most valuable comics. This series of cards showcases some key issues of a variety of Marvel comics, whether it's the first issue or an issue that introduces a character or team of characters into the Marvel Universe. The back of the card features the publication date, the original price at time of release, and the 1990 Overstreet price guide value. And now we're moving into the SpiderMan Presents. These cards are so funny. Features Spider-Man going and talking to different protagonists, different, antagonists, and just kind of asking them questions, interviewing them like a reporter. They're pretty funny. The back of the card illustrates a continuation of the interview with the character, with usually a different punchline than the front. This series of cards makes for a great addition to the set. From there, we come into the famous battle series of cards within the set. They feature some of the most memorable battles between the superheroes and their arch-enemies. Many of these cards bring back memories of my childhood when I would sit with my fists clutched, waiting to see the results of the battle. The back of the card describes the when, the where, and most importantly, the why. And last but most certainly not least, we come to Stan Lee, Mr. Marvel himself. The front of the card features an illustrated portrait of Stan Lee, overlaid by a montage of his Marvel creations. As we turn our attention to the back of the card, it reads, height, 6 feet, weight, 155 pounds, comics written, uncountable, no prizes awarded, 547, his favorite sayings, nuff said, true believer, face front, and Excelsior. First appearance in a Marvel comic, Fantastic Four number 10. First public Marvel Comics work was the text story in Captain America Comics number 3 in May of 1941. And now we come down to the origin story. And it says, quote, aided by some of the most talented artists in the comic biz, Stan Lee created virtually the entire Marvel universe and revolutionized comic book writing as we know it today. Among the hordes of characters co-created by Stan are the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, the Avengers, the Incredible Hulk, the X-Men, Thor, Doctor Strange. Heck, this card's not big enough to list them all. And now we move down to the caption, and it says, did you know? Stan's longest unbroken stint on any Marvel comic was on Fantastic Four, which he wrote for a whopping 114 issues, starting with number 1. Hello and welcome back. If you made it to this point in the video, I absolutely applaud you and I appreciate your patience as I am learning a new set of skills as I am creating this content for you. In saying that, I sincerely invite you to leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. What did you like? What didn't you like? What could I have done better? It's this feedback that's going to help me create the content going forward with your expectations in mind. So my hopes with this channel are to get you excited about collecting. I want you to actually connect with other collectors, do your research, have fun, initiate this conversation with them, and you're going to find out that the culture is insanely awesome and you're gonna have so much fun. Whether it's comic cards, comics, pop vinyl figures, records, laser discs, there's just so many things out there that you can share with other people, and I guarantee you will not regret it. If you did enjoy the video today, please click subscribe below and then also click on that bell icon and you'll be notified when my next videos come out. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video by inviting you to start connecting by collecting. This is Captain Fanatic signing off. Thank you so much.